Hey, thanks for joining me on this beautiful October 7th Monday morning, or wherever you are. It could be the afternoon or some other time like that. Hopefully, you're watching here, maybe on YouTube, listening in the cans, maybe, or in the can, whatever. Maybe you are on Apple Podcasts. Hopefully, we are all over the place. Spotify, iHeartRadio, all over the place. From my corner of the world to yours. Thanks for joining me. This is TFTC with Bob Nebel, N-E-B as in boy, E-L. I hate that when I'm like online or something, or I'm calling somebody, which is worse. I think cell phones, or what we call mobile phones these days, not really a cell, is it? Sounds like crap. I mean, I don't know what it is. We're supposed to have better technology these days, right? Like digital should be clear and concise and everything. It sounds like crap. I think it's worse than it was 20, 25, 30 years ago. I don't know what it is. I don't know. The cell phone just looks like crap. I have this phobia that it's always going to drop out. I don't know, because maybe the reception here in my neck of the woods is just absolutely terrifying. It's really bad. It really, really is bad. Now, if I'm in the house and I'm using the Wi-Fi calling connection, that seems to work, but I've been so conditioned with the horrible reception around here that I'm always going to lose the call. So it's like a phobia, and I can't really relax when I'm on an actual call. So I don't use the cell phone all that much, or mobile phone. Mobile phone. It's not really cell, is it? Whatever. Trying to use the proper terms. People use the term like film. It's not really film anymore. It hasn't been for ages. Most people are not even using film. It's basically what you would want to say is you're recording something, but we use the term film and it's not really film. And we don't even videotape anymore. It's not really tape, but they still say, hey, come to the taping. It's not really a taping unless somebody's backing up the show on tape. But I think they're all recording digitally these days. It's all onto the hard drives or into the clouds or whatever. I'm way off base here. Anyway, this is October 7th. A horrible tragedy happened a year ago on this date. The Israel-Hamas war had really begun. Um, you could really say so. Nothing to really celebrate at all there. It's just can't believe it's been a year since that had all started. It's also a National Inner Beauty Day. So those are good thoughts. Think about inner beauty. I have a wonderful show today. My guest, he is returning back to the podcast here. I had him, I can't even remember when. I have so many of these episodes out now. His name is Jesse Terry, singer-songwriter from the Northeast. He's been all over the place. He tours frequently. We talk about that as well as many other things. His seventh studio album is out. It is called Arcadia. We get into the title of that beautiful release. He has a cast of characters on this album, including the only Dylan Aldridge, who had worked with many, many great people. And it's just a really beautiful album. I urge everybody to go out there and get Arcadia by Jesse Terry. It was released on the 4th of October, back up on Friday, October 4th. And wow, what a great release. It really is very cohesive, wonderful tracks. We get into a lot of things about the cover art, how that all came about. And he's got a tour that has been lined up here for the fall of 2024 and beyond. Great guy, very, very interesting. And he kind of got away from being plugged in. He kind of unplugged, went to retreats and things like that to write and eventually record this album. Works with many, many great people on here. And I just really enjoy talking with Jesse. Great personality. And it's crazy because he was just here as I record this. He was just here in August of 2024. Hot as anything here. Very, very, very hot. Great new release. Check it out. He works with a guy named Craig Bickhardt, who was also on Nashville's Music Row, as was Jesse, and created many great songs for artists. But Craig really belted out some very, very huge hits there in Nashville for the Judds. Worked also with the Highwaymen and Ray Charles. So really check him out. Great guy. I loved speaking with Jesse Terry, and I hope you do too. He's a wonderful songwriter. Won the John Lennon Songwriting Award, which is, I think that's a pretty big deal. So enjoy. I'll see you on the other end of this.
How you doing, Bob?
Hey, welcome back. Great to
Thank-
see you again. What type of mic do you have there?
Oh, it's a Townsend mic, which is like my recording studio mic.
Oh, I love it. I'm hearing more of
Yeah.
that bass and that kind of stuff, even though everything's compressed for the internet.
Yeah, totally.
I do have the option, for those who don't know, it's the Shure SM7, which I don't really need to have a mixer for, but I can add one. If I really wanted to, I can
Sure.
get the XLR and send it out to that. But everything's compressed anyway when you're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
with
no,
these.
it's a great microphone.
Yeah, everything's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, so you've been a bit busy, but you got a really unique story to tell as to the making of your great new album. Arcadia is the title. And
Yeah.
how did that all come about?
Well, I was really inspired to make well every new record feels like a new opportunity to expand and grow and try something new. A few years ago I had a record with big strings. The next one I did was completely live, like all new things, So this one I wanted to really write a pretty big rock and roll record. Still, there's still dynamics and it's still very much me, but I grew up on more rock and roll than sometimes people would think, because I travel around with an acoustic guitar, but I grew up on Hendrix and Cream and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and that was as much my bread and butter as James Taylor and Jackson Brown. So it was really fun exploring that, trying to grow and then going into the studio with just a incredible band and yeah, had two electric guitar players, no pedal steel on this record, just rock and roll and just watching them kind of duel it out was awesome, and we kept it that way, Ethan's on stereo left and Juan's on stereo right, and it's like I love that I can hear those guys now and know exactly where they are.
And that's Ethan Ballinger. I think we've talked about this last time.
Yes.
Worked with Miranda Lambert and people like that. So it's great to have that influence and somebody you can
Yeah.
bounce those ideas off of.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is actually my first time working with Ethan. I've worked with Juan a bunch before, the other guitarist, but Ethan was fantastic because in truth, we had another guitarist lined up at first, and I was really excited about this other guitarist, and and he got a massive tour, like to go tour with like literally one of the biggest legends in music, and um, I don't know if I should say it, but anyway,
Eh, it's
but
okay.
one of the best. So but then the great thing about Nashville is you start asking a few friends, for their advice on another player, and before you know it, you have like five or six other people that you're so excited about, and
Yeah.
I had to try to choose from that. But Ethan just he blew me away, and now I have another person in my world, my musical world
Ah, interesting.
that I
Very
love.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
That's just really yeah, and just listening to this, it seems like yeah, it's just another turn and it has so much power and focus to it. You work with it's Dylan Aldridge.
Yes, Dylan. Yeah, he's fantastic. Co-produced the record with him and he was just great from start to finish really because that process starts with listening to 30 or 40 songs and giving
Hmm.
feedback. I mean, even in before they're rewritten, a lot of the songs were rewritten. So he was really instrumental and then just going into that room and just knowing that he's got his room so dialed in. Like the sounds in the room, the record doesn't sound that different from how it sounded when we like left the session and just bounced down a very quick mix to like listen to. Like Dylan does a really great job of just, he's kind of capturing everything, and that's just how the record sounds.
Yeah, your title track is really it. It's anthemic in a way, very jumpy, and I would say Springsteen-like. Did that have much of an influence into your title track?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, Springsteen has an influence on everything I do.
Yeah. And it seemed like you kind of had your Nebraska moment. Was that what you would kind of call that, where you kind of just really unplugged? So I'm not following the whole music industry thing right now because you had so much personal stuff going on with your own life.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned more than anything, and and you probably I think we talked about this before, but my first job out of college was writing songs for a living in Nashville on Music Row, and of course, you get pitch sheets, Kenny Chesney's looking for an up-tempo song about whatever,
That's
and
awesome. Yeah.
it's cool, but it's a different thing. For me, it was a lot of days where I didn't necessarily have something really important that I wanted to say. And that's a different kind of writing, and for me, and Springsteen talks about this as well, like you have to have something that you need to say, and I really needed to say all these things. So for me, that's the great driving force.
Yeah, I interviewed Warren Zanes, who wrote about the Nebraska sessions, if you want to call them that. It basically came from a
Yeah.
bedroom in Colts Neck, New
Right.
Jersey.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
but what a fascinating story that is. And I see those parallels where it's like, he was fighting major depression. They're going to do a movie about this too, with that guy from
Oh,
The
great.
Bear. And it's like he's going through a really tough period, and you wouldn't have known that, but like a lot of depression and things like that were going on at the same time. And he had this TAC recorder, like probably one of their lowest end recorders, using a cassette tape, and he didn't even bother having the cassette tape in a cover and in a case.
Wow.
He just
It's
carried it around in his back
unbelievable.
pocket.
And they
I mean,
and they tried
yeah.
to recapture that. It was never intended, to be a record. They tried to recapture that energy and they never could. I
You
mean,
just couldn't. They tried it and it was
yeah,
just impossible. So sometimes,
that's
yeah, you
been,
catch that
yeah,
lightning.
totally. And that's been very inspiring to me as well. And I always think of that because, of course, like Dylan has an amazing studio. He's got the toys that you want, great API board and great microphones. But really, at the end of the day, the most important thing is what's behind that microphone and the songs, and even if Dylan had to record on, my home studio right here, like he would do a great job. And if the songs were there, I think people would still like it. It wouldn't sound the same, but you know what I mean? Like with Nebraska, that's a great illustration of just how the songs really are king, and the performances.
Yeah, just raw and in the moment, and it really captures that. I kind of feel that way on this. But of course, you're far more polished, and the song quality is way better than Nebraska. But yeah, the title, and it comes from this. Now you name this after a region in Greece where it's kind of like utopia-ish in a way, where you
Yes.
could find that inspiration and unplugging and peace and all of that.
Yeah, I was thinking about kind of when everything, now songwriting doesn't always go right. I've learned it's also okay just to be patient and just have nothing for days, and that's okay. That's okay. But when it's all going right, it felt like this vision of Arcadia to me, just um, it's a real place, but it also has like all these mythical qualities. And that's how songwriting feels to me because it is really magic. Is such magic and can be magic, but it's a very real, tangible thing.
Yeah, and is this considered your eighth album?
I think it's seventh.
Seven.
Seventh. Yeah, I had a couple other EPs, and I
Ah,
did a
okay.
couple cover albums during COVID, so it feels like it feels like I have more. But
You're right.
I mean, seven's a lot. I
It
can't
is
wait
actually,
can't
yeah.
wait to do eight, but
Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
it's already a really well-stocked catalog for most solo artists. So yeah, that's really good. So do you take this out on the road right now, or looks like you got a tour planned, and you're going to be mainly in the UK?
Yeah, so the UK will be the first. I've got a couple album release shows in September in the States. But the UK is really the first big, 16, 17 show tour, um, completely focused on this album. The first time I'll have the physical CD and vinyl in my hands, and
Oh,
that's always really exciting.
nice,
Yeah, and then we'll
nice.
tour behind it next year too. It's really the fuel of my whole career.
how does somebody like you from the States, though, how do you play in the UK? I mean, were you heavily marketed over there? It looks pretty extensive. You got a lot of shows over there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going over for I guess over 10 years now. So it's kind of just the same as the US or anywhere else. It's just brick by brick, and now I have an agent over there, but really that just takes some work off my plate. It's still you still have to reach those people. Um, but it's been wonderful going over there. I love it.
Yeah, how are the people, how do they receive it? Are they just so curious about life in the States? Is that kind of their thing? Like they're just like, oh my gosh, we just don't get that over here. Or is it something that they just see inspirations that they just don't see in the UK?
No, it's not like that. I mean, I'd say even Canada is more different. Like Canada, you have those artists that we've never heard of that are filling up stadiums over there. Um, the UK feels like a step family, you know, like
Yeah.
I mean a step brother or sister with like a funny accent. And I think they feel the same way about us. And it's great to make fun of each other and make fun of each other's countries because they're just as upset as we are about politics. They're always it doesn't seem to be that different. You know, they love Springsteen just as much as we do, and it feels very connected to me.
Yeah, I don't know if people really even understand that because, like, I grew up in the gritty Midwest and things like that. And there's a lot in common with, say, over there, Liverpool. That's, I
Sure.
think, why the Beatles spoke so much to us, especially in places like the Midwest and throughout, because there's just a lot of those commonalities. But you wouldn't think that. You think because the UK is so far off, it's nothing like what we have. But that's not true. I mean, there's so much that's in common. And that's why it's just such a hit to come across the pond either way.
Yes, it's really wonderful. I mean, they do I love their sense of humor. They do tend to make fun of you more than Americans, which I love. And
Yeah.
they're very well aware of that, and I think they're proud of it.
Yeah, that is kind of a different sense of humor. I do get a kick out of that. And I always got a kick out of their humor too. It's just definitely different on a certain level, but we have a lot that's somewhat in common. So I can't help but notice the artwork for the cover of your new album. What's
Yeah.
the story behind that and who put that piece of art together?
Yeah, well, well, yeah, I think like today also there's so much music out there and there's so much art. So I really wanted to have something that stood apart a little bit. So I was researching a lot of artists and there was a collage artist I was really into. There's a um like a wood etching artist that I was really into. And then I was just on Instagram one day and I saw this beautiful album cover from this designer Kelly who illustrated my album art, and I was just knocked out by it, you know. So I just wrote her out of the blue and said, "Oh, please don't be you know, please don't be out of my budget, you know." Which can happen, which can definitely happen because she's doing some great stuff. I mean, she's doing some work for Fish and you know, she did some work for Tyler Childers, you know, like Childers. How do you say it? Is it Childers?
Childers? I think it's
Childers, yeah,
Childers.
Childers, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He's
Yeah.
great. I should know how to
Oh,
say his
awesome.
name. But
I see it. You see it printed, but you don't say it. It's like, wait,
right.
how does he pronounce that?
Yeah, I listen to him all the time.
I have that issue with my last name too. It's like, easily people will do the shorty and it's not. In German, it's Niebel. It's like, but I have to correct
Right.
people. Sometimes I just gave up.
Yes.
But it's,
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Easy with
Oh.
your name though. Very, very easy.
Well, yeah, unless you mix it up, which people do often.
Yeah, I could see that when you have two first names like that,
Yeah.
like Billy Joel, and that it kind of reminds me that cover of your album reminds me of his last pop album way back from 1993, River of
Oh,
Dreams. It
yes. Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
reminds me of that.
That's a very good that's very interesting. Yes, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Christy
Um,
Brinkley, she painted that cover.
oh, did she?
She's into
Oh,
that. Yeah, that's
I didn't
hers.
know that. Oh, great. I didn't know that. Yeah, it was wonderful to work with Kelly. Just like my children's book, it was great to work with that artist.
Yeah.
And you know, you still have to it's pretty cool because I mean I have a fine art background, but I haven't painted or drawn in so long. So I feel like I've lost that. And that's okay. I music completely took over for me. But being able to be creative in that way and also telling a great artist like that what you'd like to see is
Hmm.
is really cool, you know, because you're you're kind of creating it, but they are, and it's really interesting to work with them and just kind of like be a part of that process.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And
Yeah.
I think hers is a bit better than what Christy painted. It's, she did a great job.
I'm knocked out by it. I mean, she,
Yeah.
she's done a she did a t-shirt too that's coming out soon. I mean, she's so good.
Very excellent. Some tracks come to mind on this new release. I don't know why I'm conjuring up the thought of Timothy B. Schmidt, but when I'm hearing Someone in Repair, it reminds me that you're a bit higher. It's a slow and lilting acoustic arrangement. It just seems to be like one of your more deeper tracks. Is that one of your more personal ones?
Yes, I mean I love that song. I wrote a lot of these songs with my dear friend Craig Bickhardt, who's
Yeah.
a world-class songwriter and has had a lot of success in his career. Um, and he just like, I mean, I had that song fairly well done, and then I brought it into him, and he just took it to like another level. But we just connect to every line. Every single line is so true, and I've been singing it out recently and just having like feeling like a great connection with people, which is what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. Some lines I could relate to, like cracks in the windshield. I've had those cracks in the
Yeah.
walls. It's like, it's pretty big here in the South. I
Yes.
can totally
Yes.
relate on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really is the way you're weaving all of this in and making this a really cohesive record. As far as arranging the song orders, did you have to go through a lot with that? Did you give that a number of listens and decided what's going to even be on the album as well?
Oh, like the sequence. Oh yeah, and the
Yeah,
cuts. Yeah, that's always
yeah,
so hard. Like we're actually releasing a deluxe edition
cool.
that's 13 tracks a little later. The first release is 11 tracks.
Good.
So of course it's hard to like put anything aside, but I'm excited to have that, for later. And I'm also it's nice to have a really cohesive, you know, it's still 11 tracks, it's a fairly long album, but nothing too crazy. I was watching the making of Rumors on my I just got back from tour last night at like 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, and
you're doing well.
oh
It's-
man, I'm
yeah.
trying. I was like, I gotta be awake. But I mean, because I have two kids too, so
Oh my gosh, that's
we're
a full
so excited to
plate.
see each other. And my daughter was like pulling my eyelids open at 6:30 a.m. Literally pulling my eyelids open.
That
So it's
reminds me of my daughter when she's 26 now, but God, so mischievous. Yeah, I would flake out in front of her. This is funny. She would just like, I remember I do a lot of running, so I had calluses, and and she just like ripped them out of my leg. I'm like, ow! I'm in a deep sleep. I'm like, kids are so funny that way. It's just
oh
those cute
man,
little memories.
yeah, they're very brutal. They're physical kids.
Yeah,
Oh, I get
very much.
head butted so often by these kids.
Yeah, they love doing
Yeah,
that.
they do.
I don't
Yeah.
know what it is with that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna lose a tooth with these kids. They're always headbutt me in the face while we're reading stories.
Yeah, those are great memories when they're nice and innocent, and then those teenage years happen.
Yeah, well, I
It's
haven't. We'll see. I haven't. I'm nowhere near that yet, but it's creeping up.
yeah, it really happens faster than you think. You don't think it will be here. In the moment, it's like, oh, that's such a ways off, but before you
Yeah,
know it, oh my gosh. Yeah, the years fly. I think once you get into a routine with the kids, once they're going into school from kindergarten up, then that's where that time really just starts to unravel. So you got plenty of material
yeah,
for another album, I'm sure.
yes, yeah,
And a lot of inspiration here as well. I love Poison Arrow. That's another really standout track to me. What's the story
yeah.
behind that one?
Well, it's a song about my childhood. I continue to realize that being a human is just continuous work. I wish you could just figure some things out and then have it be set for the rest of your life. That would be, because we're fairly intelligent. We could figure this stuff out, go to therapy, and then have a eureka moment, and then never have to work on it again. But it doesn't seem like it's like that. That's why we're continuing every day to do the work and try to, unravel things. So for me, I don't really enjoy songs that wallow in the past or in pain. I like songs that kind of reveal truth and help you heal and help you process. So that's just a song about childhood and just how crazy it was and um, really how painful it was, and just being able to recover from that and process it.
Yeah, you learn things once you step back away from it and you see things that you didn't
Yeah.
see when you were in it. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I like going back and I visited my childhood home very recently and it's like, yeah, you really can't go back home again. But there are things that I see now, even despite all the changes that have happened physically to the area where I grew up. There's so much more that I see that I didn't see when I was in it. So
Yeah.
it's a really profound experience. So that's a childhood anthem, and you have another childhood anthem, Gunpowder Days, which seems to be like even more revealing in that sense. How does that title come about?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was just pretty, fairly volatile for a good part of my life. Um, Even like as a older adult, things I want to change, things I want to continue to change and temper and different things people don't even associate me with. Um, but those were things that I wanted to be honest about. And but there's a comfort like um I'm cutting the fuse to my gunpowder days. Like there's a comfort to some of that too, because if you have a big wall up, if you're not vulnerable, you're also not, you're not getting some of the negative. You're able to protect yourself. It's not a positive, it's not a positive thing. It's a great thing to be vulnerable, but you definitely let more in. So there's a part of that song that I think is lamenting the fully opening up instead of the more combative stance that I had for about, good part of my life.
Yeah, it's very interesting and some of the lines in that as well, and it seems to be has this country flavor to it. Were you thinking kind of countryish when you were putting this one together?
I don't know about country. I think I was thinking more, I mean, I wrote it on the electric, so I was thinking, I think probably more Neil Young Crazy Horse,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just the power of, but I like how the chorus on that song, the verse is actually the more kind of funky, like bluesy feel, and then the chorus kind of opens up and it's I love how it does that. It's a little different.
Yeah, I like the guitar solo. That
Yeah.
really
Oh
does
yeah.
make that puts another flavor into it. So yeah, more and more childhood anthem type things. But this is also seems like kind of this psychological examination too that you're going through throughout most of this, especially with someone in repair.
Yeah.
It really strikes
Well,
that.
yeah, someone in repair. I mean, you mentioned my son was ill for, all of 2023 and he's still like he's got an autoimmune disease that we're still working, but we're so grateful. I mean, it's not life-threatening, it's something that we can work on. It's lots of allergies, but in 2023 it was quite grave and it was misdiagnosed as possibly a serious neurological condition.
Mhm.
So that's just the worst feeling ever. And to go through all the waiting as well, like, who knew that DNA takes so long to, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the geneticists told us that the DNA analysis that we got, 30 years ago would have cost $1 billion and took 10 years, I think that was what he said.
Oh
And
gosh.
now they do it in 6 months and it's covered by insurance. So that's how far they've come. But 6 months is still a long time to wait. And it was longer than 6 months because then they had to do my DNA and there was still not a lot of answers. So, but as I was pulling out, I think I came up with that idea. I was pulling out of Yale Children's Hospital and you see all the flow of traffic and you see all these people coming through the valet. You've just seen them upstairs with their kids who are, going through leukemia and stuff, and then they're just picking up their car and just flowing right into traffic to get onto 95, highway. And it's easy to forget that those people just came from the children's hospital.
Yeah.
When we're on the highway, we're just, or when we're just walking through life, we're not always thinking about what someone's going through and how many people are going through really heavy stuff. So that was just and also the people that saw me on the highway didn't know that I what I was going through. You know, they were cutting me off or flashing their brights because I'm not going 100. You know what I mean? And they don't know that
Yes.
I'm waiting on results for my son and praying that he doesn't have a, a lifelong debilitating disease, you know? So that's kind of that's where that song came from.
Yeah, you really don't know everybody's stories, that
No.
are out there on the lonely freeway and they're all crowded on there. Gosh, that's
Yeah.
me every day. Somebody like, yeah, I'm not going fast enough. It's like, what's the hurry? Come on.
I know. I mean, don't get me started because I'm like a long haul trucker, and I'm so aware it's this most dangerous thing I do in my life, So, I mean, I was in Wisconsin too, just Monday morning, and
Gosh.
here it's Wednesday, so I was 18 hours away, not too long ago, and it's like covers so much ground. And during that ground, of course, there's so many scary things that happen. So I try to play it really, really safe because you don't get there that much quicker,
No, that's the whole thing.
you
People don't
know?
understand that. It's like you're racing to get to the red light. It's
Crazy.
why?
Yeah.
No
Right.
logic in there whatsoever. I remember I was going down the road and there was an older guy. You would think older people always drive slower. An older guy. He was like bullying people on the road, weaving in and out of traffic. And I was like, we're gonna be at a red light soon. What's the hurry? I see him at the red light. I wave at him. We're at the same. Of course, he gives me the finger. So that
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like, wow, you're just taking it all out on your driving.
Well, that's it.
That's
Yeah, you're just always taking something. If you're angry, it's just, you're it's an expression of fear and you're just taking it out on someone else.
yeah, emotions happen when you're trying, which is not great to let emotions rule you when you're operating a vehicle. It's where I guess the band name Driving and Crying is all from.
Right. Yes.
Many people have done that too, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, waiting out the hurricane. That obviously, which hurricane? I'm sure everybody's gonna ask.
Yeah, well that's a metaphorical hurricane, but actually that's another true story. I wrote that song in college, so over 20 years ago, or 20, yeah, around 20 years ago, and my rock and roll band in college cut it. And I just me and Craig Bickhardt rewrote it, and that just comes from a true story as well. My mom went through a lot when she was after she split from my dad. There was a lot of domestic abuse going on with a crazy boyfriend that she got together with, and we
Mm.
were kind of witnessing this whole thing. So again, like what I was saying before, it was just about writing some. I mean, of course, that could have happened to someone I know, and that could have struck me and really resonated and made me feel like I need to really express it and get it out. But in this case, it actually happened to me and my family. Um, so yeah, it becomes more powerful to me.
Yeah, there's nothing worse though than like, okay, you go through the marriage, divorce, which I would think in any case is horrible. I mean, I don't understand amicable ones, but you go through that and then you decide to have another relationship, and then this guy's just like way worse, and you don't even bargain for that. That has to be just so painful. You're taking like a 1-2 punch in life, and that's just got to be really just very upsetting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, yeah, I always feel for that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. So your writing process, you've written a lot for this, like you just dug up that song, Waiting Out the Hurricane. How do you do that? Do you use the old long form notebook, or are you using your phone to write lyrics and just pull
I
over when you get the inspiration?
Yeah, I'm pretty organized on the computer on the laptop these days. Just so I stay organized and because you can forget everything, and the notebook style, I used to do that. It's definitely cooler. It definitely looks cooler for
Right,
sure.
it does.
Um,
I love those
but,
old notebooks. The Springsteen notebook, when he's
oh
pulled
yeah,
those things out. Whoa.
so
Now
cool
that's
with all
scribble.
words scratched out. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. That still works, of course, but yeah, for me, like I need to keep track of titles and audio ideas. So, so when I sit down to write, it's never a totally blank canvas. But this was helpful with Craig because Craig could hear these songs and say, like for with Gunpowder Days, he said like, I think I know what you're going for, but I think the character is not you. The way I wrote it before, he's like, the character isn't you. I know you and I love you and you're not that bad a guy. Like you like let's rewrite this. I feel like you're not 100% on it yet, which I felt because you can feel it if you're singing something and you know it's not perfectly right. And Waiting Out the Hurricane was the same. Craig went in and said, "Here's I love this. Here's what I love, but what about this?" And that was really great to stay open and to see the song have a new life after 20 years.
Yeah, and speaking of being a songwriter, you won a John Lennon songwriting award at
Yeah,
some point. When did
yeah.
you do that?
I think that was in Nashville. I won a John Lennon scholarship in Berkeley. John Lennon's been so
Oh,
good to me.
yeah. Oh, if you could only just like let the estate know, if somebody
Oh
over there
yeah.
know.
I mean, and they should know what a huge fan I am. He formed my songwriting. Um, but yeah, that helped me get through college, and I still have my college loans, but at least they're a little bit less. And yeah, winning the John Lennon contest was extremely exciting, and of course helps with just when you win something like that, being getting the exposure, but also having a little bit of money to invest back into the business and just continue doing it. Like that's the thing now. It's just you want to, first of all, I want to continue doing it, making music and growing. So that stuff helps so much with that.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And in the whole creation of songwriting. And we were talking earlier about you basically going into retreats to do these songwriting retreats. Where have you
Yeah.
done those?
Um, I've done, my friends had a condo in like Wildwood, New Jersey.
Mm.
I'd go to that had a little view of the water. It was just a small little place, but really
Yeah.
just a great vibe. They're great people. So there's a great vibe there. And I have some friends that host house concerts that have big houses and they love music. So it's like it's great to be welcomed in that kind of environment where it's like be as loud as you want. We actually love it. It's never like keep it down. So that's important. And then, of course, I do love there was a retreat in Maine I did. I do love to, of course, just like be in the middle of the wilderness in a cabin and with a log fire going, but you can't always have that. But when I
Yeah.
can, I do love the kind of classic retreat. And I'm doing an artist residency in the mountains here in September in Little Switzerland, North Carolina, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and
Oh, that's nice.
that's actually
Yeah.
awarded by this beautiful retreat center, and that'll be a full week, just round the clock writing in a cabin, by myself. I just love that.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. It's sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah, it's great to unplug, but you can't always unplug. So yeah, you do the
yeah,
best you can in those moments.
sure. I mean, it's all a balance. I mean, I love traveling and playing, and of course, you have to play too to keep the rent paid, but it's all it's all one big balance.
Yeah, and life is a balance when you got the full family and you're doing all of this. But
Yeah.
you're making music for a living, and a lot of people would do whatever they could to make that their full-time gig. I
Oh,
know
sure.
a lot of people have a day gig.
Yeah. I'm always grateful for it, even when, I mean, it's this last week was a really crazy week because I work for Bose as well part-time. So I'm visiting stores, I'm going to the gigs, I'm setting. I mean, it's truly a DIY, indie career for me. Often I'm setting up my own sound
Mm.
and that I'm running my merch and I'm like no complaints. It's a big job. But but yeah, even when I'm driving around and I've got the guitars in the back seat, I always feel grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah, there's so many artists out there doing that kind of thing. It's like you don't know how many different hats I wear. It's not
Oh
just
yeah.
about me just hitting the stage here. I'm doing so much more.
So much. Yeah, so much video editing. I mean, there's just,
Oh, you even do that? Wait, I don't know if we were talking about that last time because that's what I do. It's my trade by day
oh, it
is
is.
doing video editing. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody check out my LinkedIn
Maybe I can hire you
all over the
someday.
place. Yeah, seriously. Well, what I'm gonna do, I mean, if one day maybe I will just invest. I'm trying to save up and maybe I
Yeah.
will. I'd like to just get a MacBook Pro. I mean, I was thinking about going with the
Yeah.
PC, but I'm a huge fan of the Adobe suite. So I
Me
mean, it
too.
works
Yeah.
okay with PC, but PC is cheaper, obviously, easier to maintain.
Right.
But I love the MacBook Pro, so maybe one day we'll see. But I do
Yes.
like doing that. Yeah, absolutely. I loved music videos growing up. I mean, I was a filmmaker when I was a kid. I started like when I was 12. So I started
Wow.
with Super 8 film and then much later on with videotape and video
Nice.
cameras. And then finally it's all gone non-linear in more recent years, which is what the kids have now. I'm very jealous. Your
Mm.
kids have the problem is everybody could do it. And you could take this back to music. I mean, gosh, everybody can get their hands on it and it's affordable and can digitally record their music. And you never know. It could just,
Sure.
so many
That's
people could do it.
that's the challenge. Yeah, I mean that there's pros and cons to every era. And our pro is certainly that we can make these kind of world-class recordings. Still have to raise, it's still a challenge. I mean, the fundraising is still the hardest part. But it's not impossible. It's a possibility to do this and to cultivate a fan base that wants to hear this music. And that's incredible because you couldn't do that 30 years ago with an indie artist.
Yeah, it was so much more difficult. Video production or audio production, even, 3 decades ago. It's just so much different. You had to have a whole crew to do things, as you know. So, I mean, you could record wherever you're at now, but you used to have to go to a studio and use tape and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Far more organic in a lot of ways. And some, people prefer that analog sound and can hear that difference. So there's a great studio near me called Tree Sound Studios, which really can specialize in any of that. Anything you want to do, they can give you all that organic stuff and give you the studio time for it. So there is something to be said about that, but like I don't know if most people really hear the differences between that old analog way of recording and the new digital.
Right. Well, it's come so far. Dylan's got these amazing digital to audio converters, or maybe it's the other way around, audio to digital. But they're called Burl, and they sound incredible. They're loaded
Yeah.
with transistors, and they've kind of converted the last, analog holdovers. And yeah, it's just I think like we were talking about before, it's so much more about to me the process um and just the performance in front of that microphone. That's the thing that people are connecting to.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard anyone say, "Oh man, I would have liked this record if it sounded more like it was on tape." I've never I've never heard that. And yeah, I mean, you just don't hear that.
That's so funny. Yeah. I would prefer the old cassette tape compared to seeing. I mean, no, it doesn't sound any better. It's
Yeah,
very,
I
very
mean,
challenging.
in that Rumors documentary I was just watching,
Yeah.
like, since tape isn't an analog thing, of course, like they wore out the record took over a year to make. So after it goes over those play heads a certain amount of time, it literally wears down every single time it goes over those heads. And they lost all the high end of
Oh,
their
jeez.
drums. So
Wow.
they had a whole process. They had like a safety like tape or something, and they had to that you should watch that
I gotta
documentary. It's
see that.
fascinating, but they had to like transfer it all over and line it up and crazy.
Production's a lot harder than most people think, and now it's a different set of challenges with digital. But back then, yeah, it was very hands-on, actually physically cutting tape. I did a couple of
Yeah.
audio classes when I was back in school. I was like, I even knew then, I was like, this is so antiquated. But like, yeah, way back then, yeah, you're talking 1976, 77, and it's like, yeah, that was the old style of recording. And it was a technology that had been in place for several years even before that. So now where did you get this Rumors documentary? Where were you able to see that?
Oh, it's just on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'm Prime.
There's quite a few right now. I'm like in the middle of. There's a Cream one. There's Hendrix. There's Led
Wow.
Zeppelin. There's a lot of good docs. Making of Dark Side of the Moon two's on there. It's really
Oh.
cool to watch those things.
So they let filmmakers come in maybe with their 16 millimeter cameras back in those days and just kept the cameras rolling.
A
Kind of
little bit. Some of them are just not with Rumors. I mean, Rumors they go back into the studio that where it was recorded, and they pull up the faders, and they do really cool stuff with that, isolating cool parts that were put on and things that you would never hear. Um, and they sound perfect in the mix.
oh
But
wow.
some of them are more like, yeah, film crew in, but this one's just lots of interviews and
Oh, like
archive.
well after the fact, not like
Oh
back
yeah.
in the day. Yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of like, the Get Back sessions, where they just
Oh
like
yeah.
had 100 hours of actual 35 millimeter film footage. I'm like, this is crazy. It's just that
Yeah.
whole story and that process again fascinates me how Peter Jackson was able to go into the vaults and digitally master all this stuff and turn that into something. So that always does. I always like hearing about the production process no matter what. I'm very curious about the audio production behind a
Me
lot of those
too.
albums.
Me too. Like when I hear a great record, I always just want to I look on All Music quite a bit. It's like who produced this? Who engineered it? Who played on it? Where was it recorded? And then I just always want to call up that producer and be like, tell me how you did this. Like
Yeah, yeah.
were they was everybody playing together? The big question for me usually is was the lead singer singing and playing at the same time? And because that creates such a different feel um than separating them.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
always wondered, to me, it's magic. I don't know how you do two things at once like that. I don't know how a drummer can drum like a Don Henley and can sing at the same time. How in
Yeah,
the
that's
world?
amazing.
Because I look at that, I'm like, God, you're so involved with your shoulders, your arms, your hands, and you're singing at the same time. That's incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible.
I'm really fascinated by that. And Craig Bickhardt had also worked with the Highwaymen and some other pretty big acts. What did he do with all
Yeah.
these other acts?
Well, he was just a Nashville songwriter, kind of like the job that I had
Okay.
when I moved to Nashville. But he was doing it a lot longer and had a bunch of hits, 9 top 10 hits.
Wow, that's a
Yeah, so
gift.
he had that whole other, but he's a folky too. He's a poet, he's a troubadour, he's a great guitar player, and he's not your typical Nashville writer. He's from Pennsylvania, so um, he was a transplant, and he just had a very huge, array of influences.
Yeah, Nashville's just this music factory, it seems like. Like that's it. Did you feel like you were on a kind of an assembly line like that? Kind of like, didn't
Definitely.
Carole King do that back in the early 60s? I mean, they were basically she was who was her
Right.
partner?
Jerry Goffin.
Yeah, that's a yeah, it just
Yeah.
like I feel like gosh, were you all just like on this assembly line? Like you have to have so many songs by the end of the week.
It was, yeah, it was definitely that was the Brill building, right? That
Right, right,
or
exactly.
there was Tin Pan Alley
Tin
too.
Pan Alley, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
it was, I mean, lots of great songs are written that way, so I'd never want to put down that style of writing. And I wrote some songs I loved. It was just, yeah, but the process of showing up every single day, um, like I love writing every single day, but I don't, I like also to be patient with it. So if I don't have something that feels really important to me to write about, maybe I'll spend that day researching, or I'll spend that day reading, or learning other music. Like it for me, it's been more of like adopting a creative way of life and realizing that this is a way of life. It's and when you release a record, you're so busy with promotion and artwork and fundraising and touring and this and that that it it's easy. I mean, I'm out of it right now. I'm out of my regular routine right now, and I
mm.
know that when I get back to songwriting, my songwriting schedule soon, it'll be painful because it's a muscle, and if you get out of that routine and you get out of that way of life, it's hard. it's harder to get back into it. So I'm always trying to stay. I tried this time too, but it's just there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, singer-songwriters, the rest of us look at it like, oh, come on, it's so much harder than people even think, It's that whole thing this past year with Billy Joel saying, I can't stand songwriting anymore. It's like
Yeah.
I beat myself up, I start drinking. I'm like, wow, is it really that deep? I mean, like your job's
Yeah.
driving you to drink, that's pretty bad.
I believe that.
Yeah, I could totally understand that. Another song off your new album, it's called Rivertown. It kind of reminds me of that movie with Tom Cruise where he's in a small town. I think it's called All the Right Moves. It kind of
Oh,
reminds me of that kind of a town that you're
oh,
kind of
cool.
painting there. Yeah.
It's kind of a love letter to our town. I live on the river right here. I'm looking out the window at it.
Nice.
In between Connecticut and Rhode Island,
Oh,
and this town has just been it's been amazing for me. It's just been, this place to this refuge to write, where I've had both of my kids, where I've been through so
yeah.
much. And, we live in this loft together. It's a big space, but it's a one bedroom, so we're very close knit, you know.
Oh, wow.
I mean, a family of four. It's kind of like the bedroom is kind of like a youth hostel next door. And we're working right now. Like we're all very close and we love it. And we spent time on the road together when my daughter was young, of course, touring full time. So we're very tight. I mean, eventually we're going to move somewhere else, but this town has been really special to me.
Yeah, it sounds so tranquil and well, you're not too far from the hustle and bustle, but it's nice to go around the corner and just kind of be in a tranquil setting and be
Yes.
in an inspirational place. Oh gosh, it's nice to have the river right near you like that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a really cool old, well, obviously we're in an old mill, like old thread mill. So I love it down here. It's this old industrial area that's, now turning into to more use, and it's great.
Yeah, they repurposed it. What was the town originally? What did they manufacture there?
Oh, thread.
Oh, threads. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Textile type stuff, things like that.
yeah.
That was
That's
just, yeah.
crazy to think about. I mean, I can't believe it's amazing to think of, spools and spindles being in
Yeah.
my living room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We used to do all that kind of stuff here. It's all been shipped out. I remember, I think this happened a lot in North Carolina. There were these kind of mill towns where there was textile and all kinds of other things. So that's just, yeah, we used to do quite a bit on our soil here. It's
Yeah.
changed quite a bit. Throughout most of your album here, I'm hearing a lot of piano. Who's on that? It sounds really brilliant.
Oh, Danny Mitchell. Danny and I have been working together since my Empty Seat on a Plane album, which came out in 2012. So he's an old friend, and he's I don't like to throw this word around, but he's a real genius, a musical genius. I mean, he arranged the strings for my Stargazer record. He's got pretty much perfect pitch, sings like a bird, and then just plays such beautiful piano and organ and really in whatever you need. He's just one of those really gifted people. We all recognize it when we're around him.
Yeah, nice to have a good piano player on the project, and
Yeah.
a huge track on here, "Burn the Boats." That also
Yeah.
seems
My first
incredibly like anthemic.
first single. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of about like I was mentioning, my daughter toured with us full time until COVID. So the first 2 years of her life were on the road and, you know, accompanying me to hundreds of shows per year. And that all changed so much. And, I love this chapter that we're in. It's a more normal kind of traditional chapter. She goes to school and I go out on my wife has a job now and I go
yeah,
out on the road and I come back and everyone's got all these different parts to them and I love the parts, but I can imagine us doing something more non-traditional in the future. And I long for that at times. So this is a song about that, kind of just saying screw it and leave all your options behind and maybe refurbish an old school bus or something and bring the family on the road. Like that's the kind of thing. And my wife is totally into that kind of thing.
yeah. Is she involved in the recording process? Is she some of your background singers. There's really good harmonies on this as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah. That no, she's not a singer. Um, she lets me hear her sing every once in a while, but she's a great graphic designer and
Oh, good.
photographer. She's done a lot of work for me, and she helped a ton with the business um before she had to get a job. And we love that. We always consider it a family business,
Yeah,
and we'd love to get back to that someday.
yeah. That's really neat. Does she work remotely?
Yeah, it's full time though. So,
Good.
because people, if I see someone on the road, a lot of them, old fans will say, "Oh, is the family with you this time?" And I'll say, "No, like, I can't. They got school. My wife has to work, and oh, your wife could work from the road." I'm like, not with two kids, she couldn't.
I'd be tugging at her the whole time.
Not for a second. So, yeah, if she came on the road and the kids came on the road, um, yeah, that would be a different position.
Yeah, you definitely are full time, basically almost full time on the road, doing a whole lot of traveling. Have you
Yeah.
ever come down here to the Southeast? I'm in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, I just played a great show in Alpharetta
Oh
in
yeah.
August. Yeah,
Oh,
like
back in why didn't I know about this?
I
Where
don't
were you
know.
at?
Brook Street Park, they get about like over 1,000 people were there. It was great.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Home by
like right around
dark.
the corner from there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should come. I play there. I play down there probably at least once a year. Um, so yeah, make sure you're on my newsletter, or I can put you on there.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I
that's
love
the
that.
best way to. I know it's
I
crazy
miss
because
that.
people. No, it's fine. People. It's easy to. There's a lot going on. But yeah, I love the Southeast. Although I vow to not go there again in August.
Don't
And
do August.
yeah, I mean, of course, I'll probably break that vow next
Oh,
year. It always seems like something comes up, and I'm like, okay, I'll go. And I'll be like, it's not really that hot, right? And then I remember
oh,
just how it was like a few weeks ago when it was like 100
oh my gosh. Yeah. We're going
and
through that
humid.
today. Hopefully it goes back down after today, but oh my
Oh gosh,
God.
yeah, it was so hot too. And I just came back from the Midwest and it was like 100 degrees in Wisconsin, you know? It was
They
brutal.
did. Yeah, and that's the thing. I visited Cleveland very recently and it was kind of stuffy. I'm like, I was trying to get away from this. This is why I took the month
Yeah.
off and, and wanted to do other things, but it was pretty much hot all over. And this whole summer, I think one of the worst. I've been down here
Yeah.
well over 3 decades and it's just it's gotten worse. It's definitely, I
Yeah.
wish we can catch a break. It's the heat is
I know.
brutal.
I know. I know.
Gosh, yeah, Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm in Peachtree Corners, which is not too far from there.
Oh,
Um,
great. Yeah, I love it
yeah,
down there.
yeah, and it's a great. This is a huge metro area. It's 13 huge counties. So, like, if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna be in Peachtree City," as opposed to where I'm in Peachtree Corners, that's almost like in another town. It's like on
Right.
the south end of the town. It's so big here. It just
Yeah.
takes forever to get around.
I know. I know. I learned that with, having shows in Decatur at
Yeah.
Eddie's Attic and then having my Alpharetta fans say, "Oh, I can't come. That's too far."
It is in a way, yeah. I love going to Eddie's. A lot of my artists here that I speak with are always performing at Eddie's. I've done a lot of work
Yeah.
over there.
Great venue.
Um, I interviewed who's also been on my show, AJ Croce, who's played
Oh,
there as
nice.
well, and
Yeah.
a lot of
Wonderful.
great people. Yeah. Well, I hope you come down here again, and we'll get to see you next year.
I will.
Hopefully. Yeah, definitely. And best wishes this new album out in October.
Hmm.
And we'll have this thing out in October as well. So
Great.
be rolling that out. So yeah, best wishes and safe travels.
Yes. Thank you
Definitely.
so much, Bob. Good to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, nice seeing you.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed that. I had a great time speaking with Jesse. We'll be back for more. What a great guy. Just really enjoy speaking with Jesse. Good discussion. I like how things go into many different areas and how we were talking about the making of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. I really got into the now I gotta go check that out. And he says it's on Amazon Prime. Another streamer. Geez, how many streamers do you need? Anyway, see ya, hear from you next time. Take care.